Shalom, shalom. So today we will be discussing temperance, aka emotional intelligence, by looking into one of the accounts that we find in the Bible, specifically focusing on our foremother. Drumroll, please. Susanna, right? So we'll go ahead and get started with bringing out a scripture, bringing out a few definitions, and then we'll get into the account here because she did a wonderful job in being emotionally intelligent in this account that we read. If you have not read the book of Susanna, please go do so after this lesson because it's really such a good and amazing example of how us sisters can be more temperate and to be just have a little bit more self-control within our lives, right? We're going to go ahead and get the classic Galatians 5:22, which reads, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law." Right? So then when we go into the Blue Letter Bible, right, and we look up the word temperance, it says the definition is self-control, in parentheses, the virtue of one who masters his desires and passions, especially his sensual appetites, right? But I really wanted to focus on the self-control piece because, sis, you're going to get tried in this truth. You're going to get tried in this life. And there's many temptations that you're going to have to go through in this walk, whether that is, somebody you're in a disagreement with a sister or with a coworker, with a family member, with a friend, maybe you're being vexed in certain areas of your life, whatever it is, you have to exercise that self-control. It's best to be temperate and to operate in the fruits of the spirit rather than the manifestations of the flesh, because that's going to get you in trouble every time if you're operating out of your carnal desires rather than the spiritual attributes we should be exemplifying every single day, right? So I also wanted to get the definition of emotional intelligence. The definition of emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and to recognize and influence the emotions of others, help building stronger relationships, succeed at work, and navigate life's complexities, because life has its complexities. Okay, all right. So if you want to be a powerful woman, if you want to be a daughter of Zion, if you want to be an example to others, but not only that, keep your peace, learn how to be emotionally intelligent and temperate, and have self-control in all situations. Sometimes it takes practice, but I believe in you, sis, and you can do it. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into the history of Susanna. Susanna girl. Okay, so we're going to start at verse 2. And it states, "And he took a wife whose name was Susanna, the daughter of Chelcias, a very fair woman, and one that feared the Lord. Her parents also were righteous and taught their daughter according to the law of Moses." So Susanna, she was a beautiful woman as well as a righteous woman, right? So just wanted to set the premise, right? So then now because we're not gonna read the whole thing, maybe because I know you got stuff to do, but we're gonna jump down to verse 19. Okay, so just to set the setting and give you context, Susanna is minding her business. All she wants to do for the day, baby, is take a bath. She just want to clean herself. You understand? That's all she wants to do. What happens? All right, verse 19. "Now when the maids were gone forth, the two elders rose up and ran unto her, saying, Behold, the garden doors are shut that no man can see us, and we are in love with thee. Therefore consent unto us and lie with us. If thou wilt not, we will bear witness against thee that a young man was with thee, and therefore thou didst send away thy maids from thee." We're going to pause right there. So again, she's married, right? She has a whole husband, and these two elders surprise her with this wicked ultimatum. Either way, she's in a strait. Either way, she's in a difficult situation. What does Susanna do? Let's look at it. Let's analyze it, sis. So then Susanna sighed and said, "I am straitened on every side. For if I do this thing, it is death unto me. And if I do it not, I cannot escape your hands. It is better for me to fall into your hands and not to do it than to sin in the sight of the Lord. Okay, all right, we love her for that. It said that Susanna sighed. Sometimes when you're presented with a situation, when you're presented with something that is very vexing or stressful, or you just was not expecting it, sometimes you just need to breathe. Sometimes you just need to step back and analyze the situation, right? No matter what the situation is, whether you want to talk back, whether you want to get the last word, whether you're in a heated, again, disagreement, it's all about how you handle it. You want to overcome evil, right? Because light will always cancel out darkness. Light will always overcome darkness. And you'll see this in this account. Right? So then let's jump down to verse 56, right? So I'm just bringing this out because this was not the first time that the elders have done this, and the scriptures explain that. So they have done this before to other women, but Susanna was the one that stood out and was not going to abide by their wickedness, right? And that's what the scriptures say. So reading verse 56, and this is the time where Daniel was separating the two elders to interrogate them and investigate to see if that's what actually happened or if they're bearing false witness on her. But of course they are bearing false witness on this beautiful foremother. So verse 56, so he put him aside and commanded to bring the other, and said unto him, O thou seed of Canaan, and not of Judah, beauty hath deceived thee, and lust hath perverted thine heart. Thus have you dealt with the daughters of Israel, and they for fear companied with you, but the daughter of Judah would not abide your wickedness, right? And that also brings another element to it, because these are two elders. These are two men who they have a name in Israel. They've done mighty works in Israel. And so the natural thing that comes up within your body is fear, is self-preservation, right? But the scriptures say, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life for my sake shall find it, right? So in those cases, the natural tendency is to lean on the flesh and to, okay, well, I'm just going to save my life. But she was like, hey, listen, I'm going to glorify and magnify the Father in this situation. It's not about me, right? We are a burnt offering, and we are the peace offering, and we're going to get burnt for the Lord if that's what he requires. But she made sure that she stayed still temperate in this situation. She didn't react out of fear. So that's what makes Susanna stand out, which we love, which goes back to the fruits of the Spirit. Okay, so now we're going to jump back to verse 42. Susanna has already been condemned to death. Once she gets that condemnation and that judgment, she cries out to the Lord, right? So verse 42, then Susanna cried out with a loud voice and said, O everlasting God, that knowest the secrets and knowest all things before they be, thou knowest that they have borne false witness against me, and behold, I must die. Whereas I never did such things as these men have maliciously invented against me. Then in verse 44, and the Lord heard her voice. And he heard her voice. Looking back at the scriptures, right? Susanna sighed. She took a moment. She was like, okay, all right. Then she analyzed the situation. She understood how she was feeling. But then she said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and operate in the fruits of the Spirit and be emotionally intelligent, even in a scary situation like this, rather than operating in the flesh and giving in, and possibly, most likely, getting judged for that regardless, right? So she also cried out to the Lord. She prayed to the Father, and she was able to be saved because of that. So, Exodus 14:14 says that the Lord shall fight for you and ye shall hold your peace. So sometimes in a situation to where you feel like, your blood is boiling, baby, you finna go over to the edge, pray real quick. With you putting that into practice, that will definitely help you be temperate in any situation that you are presented, right? Because we want to, at the end of the day, we want to be able to resolve the issue. We want to overcome, because we have power with God and with men, right? That is what being an Israelite is, and a princess at that. All right. But with that, just want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, in the name of his son, Yahweh Shai, which many people ignorantly call Jesus Christ. I hope this was a blessing. Hope you were edified. And until next time, Shalom.